Hi guys, right, just doing a quick video tutorial of the bird dog row because it's a really good exercise. Obviously it's not been in for a few weeks, but it's going to be in a few more sessions coming up, and it's in tonight. So it's an excellent exercise, the bird dog row, because it gets you really thinking about your core and your glutes in relation to your upper body posture. So, which a lot of the core exercises should be doing anyway. So it's important to remember that when it comes to like the deadlifts and the squats and the overhead presses and things like that, you're trying to make sure that you work your body in a kinetic chain, like from the hips, the glutes, all the way through your posterior, right up to your shoulders. You have to, it has to work as one single like functional movement or piece of equipment, almost like that. So there's a kinetic chain that you have to be aware of. So it really, what the bird dog row is really getting you to think about is making sure that you can extend at the hip without hyperextending your lower back. So that's one of the first really good parts of this exercise, is it forces you to think about that while engaging your core, at the same time while maintaining good shoulder position. So for example, we're asking you, there's two ways of doing it. Okay, you can bring your knee in and out, or you can just keep your legs straight. We're going to ask you to keep your legs straight so that you can really concentrate on what we're talking about, making sure that you extend at the hip via the glutes without hyperextending. So the first thing we want you to really think about doing is straightening this leg. Okay, you can point your toe if you want. Sometimes people will find that works your glutes a bit more. So right away, your right glute muscle basically should be activated. What we don't want to see is this. If you bring it up too high, you'll start hyperextending here and you'll get a lower back, a sore lower back. Now, the reason that is really important, okay, the reason that is really important is because the carryover, or the carryover effect that will have to the deadlifts especially is quite significant. So what we find is a lot of folk when they deadlift, if we're asking you to engage your glutes there, when we're asking you to engage your glutes to deadlift, a lot of folk that are struggling to engage their glutes end up doing this and they sway back. So they're trying so hard to squeeze their glutes, but they can't quite manage it and they end up having to sway back, which is that hyperextended position, which is the same concept as doing that. You're swaying back because you're struggling to engage your glutes. So the objective is to get you thinking about engaging your glutes without hyperextending your lower back, and at the same time still engaging your core. Okay, so this is why this exercise is so excellent. It gets you thinking about all those movements as one. At the same time, we're also asking you to not round at the shoulder, and that's where this part of the row comes in. At the same time, it gets you thinking about associating opposite sides of the body. Again, part of a whole kinetic chain. So you're working through the left side, but you're engaging and keeping a stronger core through the right side. So the aim of this is to also keep your hips stable. So it works hip stability, core stability. It gets you thinking about engaging your glutes and core without hyperextending. Okay, so these are all really relevant points for all the big lifts. So that is what you should be doing when you're doing this. So the aim is to keep your legs straight, keep everything still. Right guys, so the video cut out there, so I'm trying to merge it. Right, so I was just basically demonstrating the exercise. So you're aiming to keep everything steady. Okay, it's a slow controlled movement. Pause, and then lower the kettlebell down really slowly. Okay, what you'll find is as you tire, this leg will start to drop because your glutes start to tire. So your objective is to make sure it doesn't drop. So feel free every sort of 3 or 4 reps to quickly check it. And again, make sure that when it tires, that you don't compensate by just extending the lower back or hyperextending the lower back. So in other words, your glute muscle here should start to get really fatigued. Your core muscles will start to get really fatigued. And that's why it's such a good exercise. It really gets you thinking about the kinetic chain between the connection between the glutes, the core and the shoulders in relation to deadlifts and squats and overhead presses and things like that. Just remember though as well that the more you're struggling with this, so the more you're getting back pain, the more you feel you're swaying back a wee bit with the lifts, the more relevant these exercises are. If you're not having any issues with sway back and things like that, and you're nice and solid, then these exercises are less relevant really. That's not to say they're useless, because they are really useful for getting you thinking and reminding you and forcing you to work. But don't underestimate the effectiveness of this exercise, and that's all I think.